When you're watching Eternals, listen, there were a lot of things wrong with this movie, but let's try to start with the positives, okay? I think that the cinematography, I thought this movie looked really good. It looked very beautiful. There were some really impressive shots that I enjoyed. I thought they were colorful. I thought that they were so completely different from other Marvel movies or projects. At times it felt a bit bland, but I felt like I don't know, everything felt crystal clear. You know what I mean? Nothing felt too hyper colorized like for movies like Thor Ragnarok, where they have like, they throw in that color in there, but it doesn't feel real. But it's space, so it shouldn't feel real, right? It should feel different. It should look different. This one's a lot more grounded in earth and kind of, I don't know what the right word is. Regal? Has like a regal feel to it. And I thought it was very cool. I thought it was pretty cool. The costumes, they're cool. They're all right. I mean, I'm not, compared to Iron Man, that's nothing special, but I think that it works for them in their kind of unique way. And then I think that there were some pretty good performances from the actors, and I don't know, I feel like Richard Madden was a standout as Icarus. I thought he did a good job. Gemma, is it Gemma? Gemma Chan did fantastic as Cersei. I really liked Angelina Jolie as Thena. I thought it was crazy that she did this movie. I was like, whoa. I don't know what made her want to sign off on it, but I thought she did well. And then, yeah, those were the main three highlights of them. The rest of them, they do their job, they do the part, they do pretty well with it, but I feel like a lot of their shortcomings, or a lot of the reason why I'm not as excited about the rest of them, is because it feels like they were held back by the story or narrative purposes. Like, take for instance, Brian Tyree Henry, who's great. I really like his work on Atlanta and Bullet Train. I thought he was really, really cool in those movies. But compared to this one, he kind of gets sidelined for most of the movie until, like, I guess the end. We don't, it feels like a bit of a pullback on him. But it's because they were juggling so many characters. It felt like it couldn't just be all of them together in a room. It felt like they had to move from one place to the other and then from another to another place. So it just didn't feel like, I don't know. I was like, why aren't they all just meeting up together? They can't pick up a phone or anything, but come to find out that none of them use phones, and it's very weird. It's like, get with the times. Anyways, outside of that, look, I feel like the Eternals as maybe a concept, it works. It works. It's a cool idea. I like the introduction of the Celestial idea. I think that their role or their job is pretty cool, but it just doesn't work on Earth. All right, now let's get into the rest of this movie, okay? I don't like this movie. All right, it's borderline okay. It's just, I don't like it when they try to rewrite history all that much. Like, history has already been rewritten for this franchise, okay? It's already been rewritten for Captain America with the World War II. It's kind of all over the place when you go back and think on it. Now, when it comes to outer space or aliens and cosmic beings and whatnot, all of that can be absolutely true, yes. Like, I like the idea of, they put the title card on the screen and they kind of give you a little, like, this is what the Celestial is, and the Deviants and the Eternals. Like, they tell you that before the Infinity Stones were created, whoa, before them. They were there from the dawn of existence. So you're saying before existence, there were the Celestials, and they created this light or whatever, and so on and so forth. And it just felt like I feel like I could get on board with that, but I can't get on board with it being on Earth. If this Eternals movie took place on another planet with other people, I feel like there would be a lot more. A lot of the things that happen on Earth, I feel like, or you know what? How about we do this? We make it 50-50. We make it one planet, and then we come to Earth on the second half of it, because that way they kind of know the consequences of their actions. I mean, they tried to like force it onto us with Thena, with Angelina Jolie's character, where she has the mind wrap or whatever, and she has the defective thing where it's like she wakes up and she realizes that like, oh snap, the world is going to be destroyed, but they've already destroyed it. So all of her wiped memories or erased memories are coming back to her. They tried to introduce it in that way. I feel like it would have been a lot better for them if they saw the consequences of their actions, or we see the birth of a Celestial and the entire planet wiped out. And then they all kind of get the same mind Weirax or whatever it's called. You know what I mean? The thing that happens with their minds when they remember things they're not supposed to. Stuff like that. I liked that. I thought that was I think that's a nice idea. And that way they have something to fight for. This time they're like, you know what? We've seen this outcome before with other planets. That's what was missing. Okay. So it's not so much that it can't be on Earth. I mean, I don't like it being on Earth because they rewrite history. It's like they've been here since the beginning of existence and time, and nobody thought to mention it, and nobody like recognizes them, or it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work. And they try to explain it in the movie, and it's just weak. Why didn't you help against Thanos? Because we were ordered not to by the Celestial. We're only supposed to intervene when it comes to deviants. And we already wiped them out. But this is aliens we're talking about here. We're talking about an alien that could snap away half of the universe. And thus, it doesn't work for Arisham's benefit if half of the existence is wiped out, because their population has to be big enough to create the Celestial and stuff. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work. They should have intervened to stop Thanos, so that way they could fulfill their duty. They could do what they want to do. And they treat it like a humanly dispute. It's not. It's a great chaos. It's a cosmic entity. It's the Infinity Stones. It's like the Celestials should be aware of those because they were there before them, and then they created them when their universe was made. So, hello? They should have been like, yeah, you need to help them out. You need to get on board with this. But I get it. It's a weak argument. It sucks. And it's just one of those things where I'm just like, this is the problem that they have when they introduce like new characters or new anything. It's like you either set them up beforehand, or you see them get their powers and whatnot, or they've already been here. I feel like that's a huge failing for these guys, is that they've already been here. They've seen the trajectory of Earth. Like, it makes sense for the Eternals not to step in and Captain America, the Winter Soldier, right? Because that's a humanly dispute. Steve Rogers and Hydra, that's all humans, right? That's all them fighting against each other. But then Thor arriving on Earth, that's a cosmic thing. That's different. And that's something that should have easily perked up the ears of everyone on the Eternals team. And then the invasion on New York, like, that should have set off some red flags as well. You know what I mean? They're getting invaded by an alien cosmic entity, and they don't decide to help out. And then Thor: The Dark World, where the dark elves are come back to life and they start wreaking havoc and doing whatnot. And then so many more cosmic forces at work here, and yet the Eternals did nothing. They read about it in the news and they were just like, it's not our problem. These Earthlings are facing some real dilemmas here, aren't we? They almost died, all of them. All of our hard work would have been for nothing if they got blown up or got destroyed by this cosmic entity. It just doesn't work. It feels like a lot of it was... They were just trying to throw it in our faces that, like, they were here, but they did nothing, and we were supposed to be okay with that because it wasn't about the deviants, because they already took care of them, like, millennia ago. You know, it doesn't work for me. It falls flat, and it makes me wonder, like, what the heck have they been doing all this time? It's a waste, really. So... I do think that, okay, as an ensemble cast, I don't know, man. It's wishy-washy. It feels a bit out of place with some of the characters. Like, I don't know, man. We don't get much development on Gilgamesh. It feels like it doesn't really work. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm just saying that I feel like they could have gotten a little bit something more, you know? I also blame a lot of the writing, the story itself. It doesn't fit. That's why I kind of wanted on another planet. I want to see what these Eternals can do against like an army of deviants, you know what I mean? And then see a Celestial be born or whatnot, you know? And then have everybody like face the consequences of it. But if they get their minds erased, that's the problem. But then they should all get like a mind Rex, or I don't know what it's called in the Huera Rexa or something like that. I forget what it's called, but you know what I mean. It's just that like it should be brought back, or everybody should get it. Everybody should get a look at it. And when they get a look at it, they decide, we're going to protect Earth. But Icarus is like, no, this is how it should be. And that's another problem, is that Icarus is supposed to be the main villain here, okay? And he's the one that can tie everybody together. He had the potential to be the best villain because he was an Eternal himself. He could have had the most emotional connection to everybody. He could have cared about everyone, and yet he still was loyal to the Celestial, to Arishem, to their duty as Eternals, to what he believed what they were. And instead of that, they just make him pretty boring and bland. He has no emotional connection to anyone outside of Cersei. He does with Ajax because she's the leader and she tells him about the Celestials and about like their true purpose and stuff like that, and that's another problem I have. Ajax didn't have her mind wipe. So she knew all of the things that they were doing, and she led them loyally. You know what I mean? She served. And then Earth changed her. She's the reason why... I mean, not the main reason why, but you know what I mean. She's like... She believes in the planet and is willing to go against that loyalty because she believes in the people on there that were able to overcome the conflict without them. Because they did nothing. But that's why it's so important for Icarus to be the main villain. He's an Eternal himself, and he's choosing to follow the Celestials. And the others choose not to. They choose humanity. They choose the Earth. But they can't change that they're going to live thousands of more years on the same planet, and nothing's going to change for them. And that should be the example, is that, like, Icarus says that this planet has to die because we're Eternals and we're going to live forever, and there has to be change. You know what I mean? There has to be change for us. We have to choose to change. And we can change this planets, universes, give life to billions more. other galaxies out there. And yet they want to defend this one. Like, Icarus has a solid case here. And instead of that, it just doesn't work. He's emotionally attached to Cersei because he loves her. And that comes clear. And if he had that same connection with everybody else, like with Kingo and Fastus and Druig and Thena, like if we saw him really connect with everybody and rally them together like a leader to fight the deviants that pop up, I think that we would be a lot more invested in seeing him as a leader, strong, capable, seeing him like how hard he's working to fight these deviants. And in the end, that doesn't happen. He's just kind of like, let's go fight deviants and Cersei this, Cersei that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It's a wasted opportunity. He had all of the traits to be the best villain of this movie. And then they introduce a deviant that transforms and mutates into some evolved creature. And it absorbs Ajax's powers and Gilgamesh's powers. And it's like, it just becomes weird because it serves no other purpose than to do nothing. What did we really learn from the deviants? What did we really accomplish? Right? Cersei found out about the truth from Arishem, not from the deviant. You see the problem here? If the deviant exposed the truth to Cersei or to the other Eternals about how they were created by their celestial to kill them because they were a failure. And because the Eternals have been killing the deviants across multiple worlds and multiple galaxies and universes and stuff like that, that's where it's like kind of the betrayal. You know what I mean? But when Arishem explains it or describes it, it's not as impactful. It doesn't work. The deviants are a nice obstacle. I like them just being killing machine animals that were wrong. And I like Arishem's idea of like, he originally created the deviants to help out with stuff or whatever they were doing. And then he created the Eternals to right that wrong. He was like, actually, that was a mistake. Instead of killing or saving humanity or creating worlds that a celestial can be born, they went rogue and they started attacking humanity and people, and the population died down. And so a celestial couldn't be born and stuff. So I created you Eternals to stop them. I like that. I like that the Eternals were created to fix another of Celestial's mistakes and their flaws and whatnot. And so they're like robots or other beings being created at like a world factory and whatnot. It's not a huge shock to me. It doesn't bother me or whatever. It's just whatever. Yeah, it's just whatever. It's not even that interesting, I guess. But my point is that like the deviants, they work better as like fighting obstacles, you know what I mean? Like, they're kind of like a background fight or ability or whatever. Something just to flex their muscles or their abilities, you know what I'm saying? But Icarus was the real fight, the real battle, the real test, you know? And it just doesn't end up working out. It just falls flat. You know, it doesn't work. And then you have somebody like Druig, who does go against Ajax or whatever, and uses his ability to stop wars and humanity and controls their minds and can make them do whatever he wants them to do. And he faces no repercussions. This was back in whatever BC, right? Like, and he faced no consequences for his actions. No reprimand from Arisham, no reprimand from Ajax, no nothing. He just kind of is there. You know what I mean? Like, he used his powers to stop humanity and their squabbles and their fighting. And nothing happened to him. And now the Eternals are fighting for humanity and nothing happens to them until the end. You know what I'm saying? So they could have been helping out and they would have faced no repercussions. It's weird how it works out. And so then so the other Eternals decide, you know what? We're going to stop the Celestial from being born and whatnot. Icarus says no. Sprite joins him because she loves him, because she never got to grow up as a kid into an adult and stuff like that. And all right, what really bothers me about this last fight is Kingo. Kingo decides, you know what? I'm not going to intervene. And he just doesn't join the battle. That is such weak for his character and weak for the writing. Why is he not there? It doesn't make any sense. No matter if he agrees or disagrees, he should be able to put up his finger guns and blast Icarus. I don't know, dude. It's felt like a huge waste of his character. We followed him this long and he's not going to be there at the final moment. And then when everybody like works together and is lifted up into the sky to give their like eternal power, he's not there. It's like, what? Where is he? He should be here. It's disappointing to say the least. I think that after all is said and done, this movie missed the mark. It definitely did not hit the way it was supposed to. It was so... It was so different. And different doesn't mean it has to be bad, but different in a way that doesn't flow, it doesn't connect. It feels so out of place in the Marvel movie franchise that it's just kind of like hard to really take it seriously, you know? Now, when we talk about like the franchise of the MCU, if you go back and you rewatch the Thor or Incredible Hulk or Captain America, the First Avenger, right? Like, those were the first of the movies to like come out. So it's understandable that like they maybe weren't the best, but they were just the building blocks of what was to come. And now, years later, you know what I mean? 2021, whenever this movie came out, right? Like, this was supposed to be, like, they know what to do, and they took a chance on something that, and it just didn't work. I just feel like it's so out of place. It's so different. Not in a good way, but it was a chance. They took a chance, you know? And, I mean, they took a chance with that sex scene, you know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh, the most pointless sex scene. I knew they loved each other. Why couldn't we have left it at that? No, it wasn't even like a good one, you know what I mean? It wasn't even like a good, like, it wasn't hot and passionate and sexy. It was just like they were laying on sand or like rocks. And he was just thrusting. Like, that wasn't it, dude. It was slow. It was sensual. It was like, it was obviously supposed to be loving, but it's just like, if you're going to do it, if you're going to go that direction, if you're going to go to a sex scene all the way, You might as well make it steamy, you know what I'm saying? Make them flying in the air, you know what I'm saying? And her changing the flooring or whatever, you know what I mean, with her powers. It's just like, I don't know, dude. There were a lot of things that I wish they did differently with this movie, but more than anything, I wish they cut out that sex scene. That served no purpose. So then, they also have, what's his name? Dane? Dane. Is that his name, Dane, or is it Dame? Dane? Dane, played by Kit Harington. And he has some sort of tie to, I don't know. They made it about his, like, lineage or his something to do with his family. And then there was that kind of, like, I guess it had to do with Blade, but we all know we all know where that's going. Absolutely nowhere. So the dots are not connecting. It's not working for me. And this movie felt like a huge miss. A huge miss. But that's not to say that if they were to try again or if they were to do a sequel of it, it wouldn't be impossible. Because they've already laid down the foundation. It may not be good foundation, but they laid it down. All right? Now, if they can build off of it, a sequel could be interesting. But, you know, would it be? Is the question. It depends on the direction they go in. But considering what they did at the end of the movie with Harry Styles, they brought in Harry Styles as Eros. It could be interesting moving forward. We don't know, but I don't think we'll be getting an Eternals 2 soon. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see if that ever makes a pop-up again, but my guess is no. So we'll have to wait for that, I guess. Not that I'm complaining about waiting for it, but you know what I mean. Overall, when you're watching Eternals, as soon as the words show up, you read it, you understand it, you kind of get a good sense of like, oh wow, okay, these things have been around before the Infinity Stones and whatever. And then you turn off the sex scene and you just kind of, I think if you just focus on Cersei, you know, make it about like, what would you do in that position? And then if you just focus on Icarus and Cersei, I think you'll be okay. You know what I mean? You'll get through the movie. If you tried to make sense of Kingo, of Gilgamesh, of Athena, of everybody else, you'll start to be like, I'm not that interested in it. So just focus on Icarus and Cersei, because they're the ones that really impact this movie. And yeah, outside of that, the action sequences were pretty cool. I like Makari fighting Icarus. I like Phastos versus Icarus. Oh, I didn't even touch on Phastos being gay. That was gay. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was funny. I don't know. It didn't really change anything other than it felt like they were like, I guess, throwing it in your face a bit, but who cares? It was what it is. And Phastos is like, they waited until like the end of the movie to show him. And another thing I have problem with is like, this is why I don't like it that they're rewriting history. It's like, I gave the humans my technology and they blew the world up. It's like, that's why you shouldn't have made anything. That's why it should be like, history is playing out like normal, where, you know, things are doing whatever. You know what I mean? Humans made advancements in technology, not you. You didn't give us anything. We made it ourselves. And so we only have ourselves to blame. You know, it's like him acting like, oh, I gave them technology and now they can do all this. It just doesn't work. So, there were a lot of misses in this movie. I would like to see what direction they go in next. I would watch an Eternals too, but only if they make it so completely different and fun, and they brought back characters like Icarus, but it's like a different version of him, another eternal version of him. If they brought back, what's the name of it? They brought back Kingo and Gilgamesh and all of them, like, bringing them back works, because they would be a different version of themselves, a more fun and different version, you know what I mean? So, and then Harry Styles as Eros, I think that might be fun and might be comedy and whatnot, so who knows, but that's just kind of what I think. But anyways, the action sequences were pretty solid. Mostly Icarus's fights, but it is what it is. Yeah, this movie, it feels like a huge, you know that moment where it's like in dodgeball when a ball is being thrown at you and you feel like let's say you're throwing a dodgeball at somebody, right? And you feel like, oh, I got him right there, right now. And they somehow manage to dodge it, like, through some crazy way. You know what I mean? They twist, they move, they run, they step, they shift, they bend, however, and they manage to dodge your hit, and you thought for sure it was going to hit. That's how I feel about this movie. Is Marvel threw something up, they took a chance, they were like, the Eternals, let's try it, you know what I mean? They threw it up in the air, they threw it at us, the audience, and we dodged it. They missed us. They thought for sure it would be something different and unique and creative, but it just didn't work. And so with that, it felt very disappointing. And I feel like because it was bad, they have so much potential to go up. You know what I mean? Like, if the bar is already so low for them, imagine what they could do with the sequel, or another chance, or a second opportunity at changing the Eternals, or if they're already going against the system, might as well, you know what I mean? They're breaking the rules, they're going against the Celestial and whatnot, like, crazy stuff. But I don't know. You can't expect potential, or like, you can't get hooked onto the movie by the chance that they might completely go different and change things. You know what I mean? You have to take it for what they give you and what it is. You know what I mean? So when you're watching Eternals, you're in for a long ride. Focus on Icarus and Cersei, and you'll come out okay. Focus on all of the moving parts. Things might start to fall apart for you. All right, so the puzzle pieces won't connect. That's how I felt. So yeah, that's Eternals. And I remember watching this in the theaters and was just like, it was okay. I felt like I was still trying to take it all in, and then that rewatching it, I was like, yeah, this movie it's missing. You know what I mean? It's not connecting with me, and that's the problem, is that I can't connect with these people because they've been here all this time and they did nothing when they could have. And now they're finally doing something after thousands of years, when it's like, I don't know about you, but I would have already been trying to do something different, you know what I mean? For thousands of years. So it just doesn't work. Anyways, that's the Eternals. If you watch it, just just think about what they took from us. Just think about the wasted potential of this movie and the characters and the story, where they could have gone and what they should have done. You know what I mean? I think that you'll have a better time coming up with a new story for this than the one we got. You know what I mean? So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.